Bam. Well, here we are. Hello, everybody. It's the end of the week. It's Friday again. And this is the 4 o'clock show on Ward Wrestling Live. And we've got my man, Mike Cipriano here, longtime referee in the wrestling athletic industry, whatever you want to call it, in the wrestling world. And he's with us again for another amazing episode of Ask the Ref. So how are you, Mike? What's up, buddy?
Good. Yeah, doing good. Hanging in there.
Awesome,
Moving
man.
along.
I see you're back from Vero Beach.
Yep. Came back from my in-laws in the hometown. So back home working. It's good.
Oh, that's cool. You wish you were still back on the beach there?
Oh man, I love the ocean. So yeah, absolutely.
Your
Awesome.
kids, they had a good time?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, that town it seems like it never ages and it's always the way you remember it. And the cool thing is it's a barrier island. So 500 yards one way you have the river and the other you have the ocean. So it's really a cool little town to be in.
Yeah, I remember when I used to work the Fireman's Festival, when you'd go over the river right there, you'd always see the porpoises jumping.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on. As I said, it's always cool to have you. I'm sure, pretty soon, hopefully we get some wrestling going here and we can get some matches on here and talk about them a little bit. But I did ask my guys that were on today some questions for you. So the first one, I don't know if you have it pulled up or you want me to pull it up. Let me.
We're talking about the hammerlock situation that was posted.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, we can talk that piece. So I think he wants to know what we look for from an official stance as far as when it becomes illegal, and what things could a wrestler do to prevent that. All right. So once you've broken that, wrestler A is in this scenario, the down wrestler is broken down, and you're rolling the inside arm to go to the back for a hammerlock. What I would tell you as a coach in a way to avoid that is have the wrestler keep the arm in as far down the lower back as you possibly can. So, because once you start to rotate up is when we're going to start either calling it for illegal or potential, right? So what I would say is when that arm's here, I would take the arm and pull it towards the hip pocket as far over as I could, and then take the elbow to go around the head so you could thread the needle that way. But as soon as that arm goes up like this, that's when you're going to be in problems for a potentially dangerous situation and or illegal. So a lot of times what I'll say is keep it legal. Don't rotate it up as the official. Keep it legal. Don't rotate it up. And so hopefully they're heeding those warnings. But again, we understand how difficult it is to hear within a headgear. But yeah, that is what it is.
Cool. So that's good. Hopefully for Coach Westlager that answers his question. If he has any more questions and he's out there listening, just post them up. And whoever's listening right now, if you have a question, go ahead and throw it up.
So I think the key thing to remember in that, again, is as you're instructing your wrestlers through the practices and you're going over that with campers, is think about the hip pocket and where that arm needs to go. Because you could start to thread it with your right. Like, so if I'm breaking down on the left side and I'm working the hammerlock there, I can start to thread with my right arm without ever having to move the arm this way. Right. But if I'm going to circle the head to maybe thread the needle and use what's called like a bull ride or a rodeo, whatever kids are calling it nowadays, you have to keep it pinned to the back and you don't want it elevated. Right. So you have to keep it pinned towards that hip pocket. Once it starts to come up off the back, float off and move towards the head, that's when we're going to call it. So just things, food for thought there when you're teaching it.
Yeah, because you don't want, obviously, the kid to tear his elbow.
Yeah, I mean, safety's first for us, right? So we want to make sure that kid can wrestle another match and is not done for an extended period of time.
Cool. So Coach Algren down in South Florida over at Cardinal Gibbons, he said, when is an appropriate time for a coach to question a call or ask for clarification?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say I would allow the situation to potentially end or get there be a break in the action to approach the table, right? Um, if someone's on their back and you approach the table, I'm probably not going to stop it just to go see what your question was, right? So I would just wait for a break in the action and then again go to the table under control in a cool manner, and then ask me your question or how I came to a specific understanding of the rule or why I ruled a certain way and awarded points. That's the way you should do it. And again, doesn't mean we're mad at you because you went to the table. It's how you go to the table and when you chose to go, right? That's where referees are going to be maybe a little, I don't know, not as welcoming at the table as we normally would be, is if you're going crazy up there, right? So under control, wait for a break in the action, and then we can walk you through the scoring of that situation and or fix it, right? Because we might have messed it up. It's possible. Or the scoring table might have got it wrong. I mean, there's so many variables that could happen. And at the end of the day, our job is to get it right and to help us make sure that the score is correct, or the rule where or we're awarding points against or penalizing people against is just in that way.
And now how about, you know, you want clarification on something, maybe the match is over, or maybe there's a tournament going on. When would be a good time to kind of get a hold of a ref maybe on the side and discuss what happened?
Yeah, I would say there's a couple of things. I mean, you have to learn how to read the room a little bit as a coach too, right? Because if you've been yelling at me for the whole match and then you want to talk to me right after, it's probably not going to go well for you, right? So I would just read the room a little bit, and then after the match, whenever I'm done signing the score sheet or whatever, it could be as soon as 5 minutes after, and I can walk you through why something was illegal, or why it was potentially dangerous, or why it was a 2-point takedown, whatever the scenario may be that you're questioning. I'll happily walk you through that. And I don't think there's a referee out there that wouldn't do that. I just think sometimes there might be some passion in that match, right? And immediately approaching the official might not be great. So just read the room a little bit. And too, as a coach, where you may have been a little out of hand. So you just have to respect some boundaries there. Doesn't mean you can't talk to me for the rest of the day by any stretch, but give me a little space before you come approach me about it, and ask me in a respectful tone, right? So don't just come yelling at me and expect me to break it down for you, because you're not going to earn my most patient ear at that point.
And that makes sense. And yeah, I mean, obviously during a match, there's adrenaline, there's excitement, things are going on. So
Yeah.
I'm sure wait until afterwards is a good thing to do.
Yeah, I would say that. And like I said, 99% of us are good to go right after. But there are times where, we could be aggravated with you and you might be aggravated with me. And that's the nature of the beast, right? But we try to be as professional and not act emotionally as possible. So I would, again, just say, act as you would with anybody. Just be under control and be respectful.
Makes sense. So I got Brock Hudkins. He threw out a question for me when I had him on today. If people don't know, he's the Indiana wrestler, wrestled 125, was 10-2, then got injured towards the end. But obviously, I don't know if you can answer this question or not, but maybe we can talk about why the question was asked. But he just kind of said, why would a ref tell maybe a wrestler and a coach when it's just ref, wrestler, and coach one thing, and then when the head referee is called into the conversation, why would the ref change the conversation to something different? And of course, by not having the ref and the coach together to explain themselves, it's kind of difficult through the show. But
no, I get what you're asking.
That happened, but the call was based on a full Nelson. The ref said to the kid and the coach, both hands were touching the head.
Mm-hmm.
The kid claimed one hand was up, one hand was touching. No hands were locked in that conversation, and then hands were locked in the second conversation. But I guess maybe we just get into what's a caution in that case, full Nelson? What's the rule?
Yeah, so in this situation, I think look, full Nelson, it doesn't mean your hands have to be physically interlocked behind the head. Okay. Your hand can be here and the other one goes like this. I'm calling it. That's a full Nelson, right? And it doesn't mean we're here, it could mean just you're here. Or you've got hand here and your hand slips up and you go like this, it's gonna be a full Nelson every time. So I don't know why this official in this situation would tell the wrestler and the coach one thing, but have an opposing view when the head official was involved. I don't know. That sounds a little shady to me. I don't know. I think this is in reference to a college match though, too, if I'm correct.
Yeah, so
Um,
it was the Midlands semis. It was a 1-point match. It ended up going into overtime where Brock ended up getting hurt, but it was a
yeah,
great match. And I don't know if that, and even Brock says, that 1 point probably didn't make or break the match, because I probably would have wrestled differently if I got the point or if I didn't get the point. So it
yeah.
wasn't
I
a
would say
call, but
too.
just a curiosity.
Yeah, I would say with that, too, you should be consistent as an official, right? If I'm going to tell the wrestler and the coach one thing, I mean, from an integrity standpoint, I should probably tell the head official the same thing. And again, that goes back to some of the original things I've said is you've got to be man enough to own up your mistakes and fix them where you can, instead of puffing your chest and just you're the guy with the whistle.
Yeah, he
So
said he's had him on other matches, several matches, and he's been a great ref, and he's done.
yeah,
He's
I
even
mean, look, we're human too, and we screw up, and it's 100%, couldn't be a human error situation. But again, you got to own up and fix it if you can. Now, from what I know of this match, the Midlands has video review, as do all college matches, but it's just from one angle,
right.
right?
So
So
when it
it's
was
only the
called,
camera. Yeah,
right.
it's only from the table angle. So whereas the finals on ESPN, like for NCAA Division Ones, is the referees have the ability to utilize all of the cameras that are at the disposal from ESPN because they're focused on only one mat, right? So they have those other different vantage points that they can take advantage of. But in a normal college duel or a regular college tournament, you just have the perspective of the mat camera. And if that action happens directly in front of that camera and the guys are going north south away from the camera, then all you're going to see is the backside, and you're not going to be able to make or to have a viewpoint to overturn your call. So
Yeah,
naturally,
that's
you're
what
going to
the
stick with it.
yeah, and
So
you heard the guys calling the match,
mm,
calling the Midlands. They said when the brick got thrown, they're like, this isn't going to get turned around because you can't see it. So, and Brock was cool about it. I asked him a question. He says, well, I'd love to know that, because that's kind of what happened to me. But he said it didn't make or break the match, and unfortunately got hurt in overtime, and the rest is history. But Brent,
yeah,
Brent Branson, right?
no. Mm-mm.
Well, he posted, wrestling coaches only know how to communicate in a series of grunts. Combine
Yeah,
that with the fact that no one likes refs, LOL.
yeah. Well, there's a pretty prominent coach that in the past, I'll leave his name out of it though, but he used to come to the table and he would describe the situation and it would go something like this. First, there was a boom, and then there was a boom boom, and then we had a boom. And you're like, what? I don't even know where to start with that. Like, does the first boom get two and the second boom is a reversal? Like, what are we talking about here? Um, but over the years, he's gotten much better at talking to us at the table. But there are times when we get it. It's hard. It's completely heated. You're passionate about the situation. We completely understand that. But you have to keep your emotions in check and just kind of pull it together a little bit so you can speak in sentences that we understand, so that we can help you through this situation too.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I had Coach Frere on earlier.
Hmm.
A South Florida guy, and he's up at Virginia Tech now, doing great things. But
Yeah, absolutely.
his question is, and it's kind of multitude of questions in one, but all for the same reason. What's the most difficult rule to enforce when it comes to the mat, as far as like a gray area, out of bounds, one hand, two hand, 1 feet, 2 feet, so kind of all that stuff that kind of happens around the edge?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as long as you're verbal and vocal enough as an official in those situations, nothing should be a surprise. Okay. So it kind of goes with the 3 general commands we should be utilizing on the mat. So if you're playing the edge, or if you're towards the boundary line, you're going to hear us go center, and we're talking to both guys there. So whoever's not working center or working to secure points on the edge of the mat, you have one of you is going to get hit for stalling or fleeing the mat, right? So that's where we utilize those commands really to our advantage. So if I've said center 3 times and you refuse to come in bounds or make a move to come in bounds, you're just hanging out there, you're going to know about it, and your coach is going to know what's coming, and it's not going to seem unwarranted. So you're going to hear me say it 3 or 4 times. And if you're still not making an attempt to come in bounds, and as long as that guy's just not blocking you from to be able to have the ability to come in, that's where, if I hit you for stalling, you're going to understand why I hit you, and so is your coach. Unfortunately, though, again, this goes back to the very first thing I said is the coaches don't read the rule book and maybe not understand the emphasis of the year, and everything seems like it comes out of left field sometimes because they have to do some due diligence on their part and be informed about what the emphasis is and what rule changes may have been out there. So that's where you'll get frustration from a ref in that is we're at week 12 of the season, and I'm still having to explain the out of bounds situation to you and why I hit you for stalling. Well, this wasn't a rule 3 years ago, and it's been an emphasis every year. So why are we having this conversation, right? So that's what can be a level of frustration for us as officials. But what I look forward to in regards to the edge calls, I'm always looking at the feet, especially in the neutral position, right? Because it's 1 foot of either guy or a supporting point of either guy. So I'm always looking at the feet, especially too if your back's to the mat and let's say you're in the top position, but now we're on our feet and you've chosen to pick me up. Well, if you're on the edge, you have a whole lot of space to go forward. So if you just take that opportunity to turn me out of bounds, to get out of bounds, to get a fresh start, well, that's when you're going to get a stall or you're going to get a flea in the mat call, because you have all of that area in front, right? You could always go forward. You chose to go backwards and get a fresh start because the bottom guy has done his job. He stood up, right? But you didn't go forward. You chose to go out of bounds with it. I'm looking at your feet because I'm looking to see which way you go and what's still in bounds. Takedown situation too, I'm looking at your feet. If you have one leg elevated in a high single, I'm looking at both feet. I'm looking at the feet on the line. I need to see where your feet are because that determines what's out of bounds.
Nice, interesting, awesome. Well, those are the 4 questions that were given to me today to ask you. Now, I did adjust my where people can sign up. I ask a question there now, so we'll get more stuff. I'm hoping that a lot of the questions now are probably becoming a little repetitive just because there hasn't been wrestling, so there's nothing to kind of, hey,
yeah, no, I get that for sure.
My kid was at an AAU match this weekend and his knee was in, but his middle finger was touching, but his ear was across the plane. Why'd they call him for that? And
sure,
we don't have that yet.
Unfortunately, we don't have those scenarios in front of us, right, to talk about them. But yeah, I mean, look, when real season gets in swing, we'll talk about application and why things are the way they are, or maybe it should have been called differently. But
yeah, and I'd love if anybody out there has video that you want SIP to break down and kind of look at and see how he calls a match or his perspective or what he looks at, or if you have any questions, feel free to DM me or shoot them over to me or Sips, and we can have him on the air and look at him, and he can tell you his opinion on what he might have called. But just make sure you have a good angle of it, because there's some stuff that we have gotten or we've seen, and all you see is like two butts, and you can't really get around there. So just try and get that to us. But most of all, I mean, right now it's just been kind of going. It sounds like you and your wife may be back to like physical work here.
Well, I've been working remotely this whole time, so I'm back at work. We still no word on my wife as of yet, so we're hopeful it'll be soon. But yeah.
Now, have you heard of? I mean, I know there's going to be a camp going on. I've seen all the
Yeah, I
camps
think it's
happening, but
mhm.
as far as any tournaments locally or anything, have you gotten any rings or any calls that referees are needed,
No,
which would give us a sign that we're thumbs up? Or
no, no. But typically, to be fair to that, there's usually one. There's one big one in around late August, early September, and that's the Super 32 qualifier. So that's for anybody that did not place in the top 3 in the state. Then they have the ability to wrestle to get into the tournament there. So that's usually a pretty good turnout, and that happens at Osceola High School with Jim Bird and his phenomenal staff that he has there. And that's probably the next biggest one locally, because again they moved Disney duels. That's now in Virginia, and Virginia National Duels is still later in August. So, and they canceled Fargo, so nothing's coming up that I know of in the very near future.
yeah, I mean, I've heard something about, what do they call it, like states or something at Osceola, where they do like
They
Greco
do,
and Roman,
yeah.
Greco and
It's
freestyle.
FAWA. I think it's FAWA states.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that usually. I don't know. I don't typically referee that, so um, I'm not a member of USA Wrestling for various reasons. But
Get into that right now? No.
yeah, it's yeah. I'll probably get a cease and desist letter from somebody associated with that, so I'll just leave that be. But um, so I don't typically do those, but I traditionally only referee folk style.
Nice. I got a question. I've been adding, you and I don't do the 10 question thing anymore because we're on all the time. How many
Yeah.
did I ask you the same 10 questions? Maybe I'll have to go to like the Disney route and be like Epcot or Magic Kingdom.
Right, right.
You know, but I've been asking at a tournament.
Hmm.
Now, this is not for like my favorite place to watch wrestling videos or my favorite place for wrestling content. As far as
Hmm.
working a tournament, uh, flow or track? What's your opinion, or what's?
Yeah, I probably primarily have the most experience with track. Um, so what I can really only probably speak to that. I've maybe done one or two tournaments that flow has been the technical supervisors over. So I mean, I'm a big fan of track. Um, there's only been one real downtime that I've come across, or one glitch, and it's well documented. Everybody knows about it, right? But outside of that, I haven't seen any issues. And again, we didn't know of that issue until well after the tournament was done, and we discovered all of the times that button had been pressed. So
The easy.
um, yeah, the easy button. So I would say I'm a fan of track just because that's what I know. Um, and and just being a fan, like if I was, and I'm sure maybe Flo has the same capacity, I don't know, but if my son or daughter was wrestling in New Jersey and I wasn't able to get there, it's great that I could just log in.
Yeah, I think that's what some guys are saying as far as a technical. And I try to ask, like, I'm not trying to make people go like flow or like content flies, but yeah, that's what I get. I think track. Uh, People like the ability to be able to go onto the platform and see the different things, and be able to, obviously, your kids in another state, you can jump on
Hmm.
and kind of see what's going on. So
Yeah,
that's pretty
and
cool.
it's fairly user friendly too. So
And they've got the free version, which is pretty cool, and you can still see the matches. Not, you can still see what's going on and see the steps
right.
and everything. So, um, Pretty cool. Well, hopefully, I guess it looks like Disney should be opening up soon for you. And
July 11th is Magic Kingdom. So
so what's the deal there? So now I saw something on the news where there was like a big push where pass holders went to get these other passes that allow you to log in at certain times to do certain things. It's like a
well, it's a
fast
new
pass on steroids.
yeah, it's like a new reservation system. So I mean, God, it would take me hours to describe this to you, but I mean, it's a brand new system, and it's basically you can reserve park attendance. Not necessarily a fast pass for a ride. You just reserve your spot to attend the park. In either 3-day increments if you're an annual pass holder, or the length of your stay. So
Wow. So yeah, I'm sure you get into it. But there's no more park hopping for right now. You can't do like what you used to do. You can get on the monorail and go from park to park. And then
yeah,
I'm guessing that now you're gonna have, if you're reserving a spot at the park, now it's you can't just be there the whole day now, right? You've gotta, maybe is there a time? Because how can I reserve
well,
Monday from 8 to 2 and you reserve it? Then we've got,
I think it's just I don't know because I've not been exposed to it yet, but what I would imagine is you're not reserving time per se, you're just reserving the person or occupancy. So you're going to be there. You don't have to be there for a certain amount of hours. It's just reserving your spot to go to the park. You
sure,
could be there
makes
for 20 minutes, you could be there all day.
yeah. So if 100 leave, 100 whatever, but yeah. So they're saying, okay, if a park
Yeah, they're gonna
holds
moderate.
5,000, now it can hold 2,500 or something.
Yeah,
Whatever.
they're gonna moderate and monitor the capacity, and then just go from there. So if it's working out well, I'm sure they'll raise the limit. That's what they did in Shanghai. Every week, it provided that cases were going down and there wasn't an uptick as a result of opening, then they increased by 5,000 guests per week.
And it's been
So
working.
it's been working.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but the problem is they listen when they're told to wear a mask or not.
I don't think they have a choice. They're different over there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that happens. Last thing is, have you been told any new policies as far as when you start reffing a match again? Are they going to require you now to ref with a mask on? Are they going to require you to have gloves on? Or have you heard anything? Long
I mean,
pants?
I've heard some crazy stories, but I don't know how fact based they are. I mean, I've heard something as crazy as we're not going to let the wrestlers shake hands, but they're going to wrestle. Well, why would we do that? That makes no sense. So, I mean, wait a minute. I'm not going to shake hands with you, but I'm just going to put my hands literally all over you anyway. So, I'm just telling you that's the level of crazy that I've heard. So, and I don't know how factual it is. And look, they have a long time to figure it out before high school wrestling starts, really, the actual season. So hopefully by then there's a lot of things under wraps, and we're not talking about this in November still.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, look, you see the MMA refs; they always got these black gloves on or whatever. So
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
maybe they'll have you come out in like a Blue Man Group suit.
right. We're just in a bubble. We're in like a spaceship from above, and we're just
One of
putting
those.
up points.
You're going to be in a full body stocking.
Yeah,
With
exactly.
see through it, kind of like those guys, and then the wrestlers are going to be, those water bubbles where you can jump in,
Yeah,
kind of walk
right.
across.
It'd just be sumo wrestling at that point with that.
Yeah, that'll be fun. All
Yeah.
right, Sips, man, this has been great. Man, don't forget to jump on, and I've got to go, and let me know what increments you want to do every week, every other week, or
Yeah, we'll
jump
do.
on yourself and kind of set yourself up. And but I put a question on there now when people sign up, so we'll get some stuff, and then I don't know, man, if you're watching some content and you see a match that'll be interesting for us to break down, just
Yeah.
let me know. We'll bring it on, and I can ask my son too. He's always watching flow and track and
Sure.
doing all that. So not much else to do. They swim, they work out, they hit the mat, he and his brother, and then they play video games and they beat each
We'll
other
put them
up.
on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So kind of what we do. Hey, thanks so much, man. Thank you for answering those questions. I hope
Yeah.
it helped, and enjoy your weekend.
All right, buddy. You too.
See you, pal.
Have a good one.